Hello, you wonderful humans. Thank you for being here. It is Wednesday. It's 7 o'clock. That means it's time for another Wednesday weekly workshop where you get to ask Drew anything. Hi, I'm Drew. I'm the owner here at 3D Wellness. I'm also a clinician with more than 17 years worth of clinical experience helping people heal safely and naturally. And every Wednesday at 7 o'clock, I go live to answer all of your questions. So start chatting those in. But I couldn't do it alone, so I'm joined by the incomparable Two Boots, Lori LeClaire.
Chat in your questions.
We'll get you some answers. Oh, what number is it, Lori?
Is it 144?
Is it 144 already?
I
Jeez,
think
we've done
so.
a lot of these Wednesday weeklies.
Are you going to be writing that on the board there?
Absolutely.
Awesome. Yeah.
That's a whole lot of Wednesday weeklies. If this is your first time joining us for one, the deal is, for a long time, I heard clients say, hey, Drew, I'm a little frustrated. I tried to reach out to one of my healthcare providers, and I really just needed a 2 or 3 minute phone call with them to have some back and forth. And honest to goodness, it would only be 2 or 3 minutes. So they might chart them, or they send them an email, or they call into the clinic, and what happens is the My Chart takes a day to get a response to, which is understandable. They're busy people. And the phone call goes in and they only get to talk to an assistant, which again makes sense because these providers are busy people. But our clients were so frustrated with that. So these Wednesday weeklies are here so that every week, all of our clients here at 3D Wellness know that there is a time and a place where if they have a question or they need a back and forth with me, they got it. We're going to talk about what we saw this last week in clinic, and then we have some emailed in questions that we need to go over. And I want you to chat in those questions. Anything related to health, if I don't know, I will tell you. If I have any ideas, I will share them with you. First things first, this week at 3D, boron on a hair tissue mineral analysis. It has recently been brought to our attention that boron is one of the ingredients in the test tubes that they use at the hair analysis laboratory. So we are currently doing a deep dive on this because it seems like the laboratory we use, which is Analytical Research Labs, is the only one that is bringing attention to the fact that is what is in the test tubes could be influencing the results of the hair analysis. So we're currently calling around to ask some of the other hair analysis laboratories that we don't use how they mitigate this problem or what their test tubes are made out of. We'll keep you updated.
Mm-hmm.
We want accurate information on the tests that we do here. Autoimmune issues this week. A couple of different people brought that up. And Lori, actually, when you were on vacation, we went over this. There's a really simple thing that we do to support people dealing with an autoimmune condition that has to do with the way the immune system deals with old cells, that it's time for those cells to die and go away. And if we're lacking these certain nutrients, it just doesn't work as well. I think that was number 139, Wednesday Weekly 139.
Okay.
You'll know for sure because in the intro, I don't say I'm joined by the incomparable Two Boots Lori LeClaire. I say I'm joined by the woman who needs no nickname, Heidi. Saw a couple of those people this week and they're doing better. It's kind of cool to see when somebody has a gnarly hand that the fingers start to straighten out. It's pretty wild. Planning conception, a couple of young couples coming in here talking to us about, hey, it's not going to be this week or even this month, but we want to start a family in the near future. What can we do to start to get our body ready for that? And it is mostly what we're doing for the mama to be, but not exclusively. More and more research shows us that how well the man is doing is going to influence how well the pregnancy goes. There's a lot of information that comes from the sperm cells that will dictate the outcome of the pregnancy. So if you're working on conception stuff, it's something I've been working on my entire career. I find great joy in helping families and couples work on that stuff. Libido, related but separate. This is from some of our clients who are not starting a family or expanding their family. They're just looking to make sure that they can get action when it's needed. And this is an old joke I've told around the clinic for years and years. But a common thing that happens around here is a menopausal woman comes in here and she starts to get nourished up and she starts to feel better. She starts to have an easier time getting aroused. She loses about 10 pounds, so she looks better. She feels like she looks better. Her energy is up. And all of a sudden, the husband can't keep up with the menopausal wife's libido. So libido, whether it's a man or a woman, you need support. It's stuff that we work on here. Sleep. There's a really important question I ask my clients about sleep all the time. Someone comes in and says, Drew, I'm having trouble sleeping. One of my first things I say, do you fall asleep? Do you stay asleep? We got to break those two things apart. The act of falling asleep is different than what is needed to stay asleep. Some people have trouble with both, but it's really important that we don't just look at sleep as this one general topic. It is easily broken down into separate components. Often, do you fall asleep easily and then do you stay asleep? Last one I got is just a cute one. A client came in and was trying to tell me that they had been diagnosed with tendinitis. But before they could get that word out, they said, my doctor told me the problem with my wrist and elbow is tetanus. And I was like, wow, that's interesting. Tell me more about it. They said, oh, did I say tetanus? I meant tinnitus. And I was like, the ringing in your ears caused your wrist and elbow problems? Like, no. It was and I was like, tendinitis? Like, yeah, tendinitis. That's it. I bring this up. I'm not going to say any names. It was really cute. And it's something that comes up all the time around here. A lot of our clients go to see medical care providers, health providers, and they don't get an explanation. They get labels, they get words, but no descriptors. And they often misunderstand things, or they don't even know the difference between tetanus and tinnitus or tendinitis. It comes up a lot with blood work. People bring a lot of blood work in here to us so that we can explain to them what all those abbreviations on their blood work mean. Because a lot of people don't know what an RDW is. They don't know why they want their alkaline phosphatase to be in range. They think that creatinine is the same thing as creatine. And I get that people don't get that. And their provider is not explaining it, so people come to us so that we can translate it for them. That was this week at 3D. All right, we got some cute emails on the board also. And I just realized I didn't black out any names. Two Boots, would you grab me a permanent marker so I can keep some privacy for our clients? People send in questions regularly. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Some people also just send in some thanks. They'll say nice stuff to us. This one says, I will continue to come to you because your approach has been so much more effective than most of the other people that I've been working with. It's just a sweet thing to say. I'm glad they found us. This one, cross out the name here. Thank you for helping with regards to cramping. I want to express my gratitude to Drew and the crew for all the changes that I've seen in my life. I am so thankful for you all.
Yes.
We already love coming to work, Brian. You didn't have to go and throw that in there just to make us love it even more, okay? But we appreciate it. All right, let's cap that. All right, now this one was an Ask Drew Anything, ADA. Hi again from Laurel from last week. Another question for Drew's Ask Drew Anything. He once told me he's careful who he recommends spirulina to. What is the reason that not everyone should take spirulina? Excellent question. This one comes up pretty regularly. Green is the only appropriate color to use when talking about spirulina. So most commonly, we're going to hear spirulina is recommended to us because it's going to help with the removal of noxious substances. Another way to put that is going to be to say detox. Spirulina falls into a category of things we use to support detox that I call generic detox. And let me explain that. Spirulina has the potential to grab different types of heavy metals, different types of chemicals, and different types of waste products in the body. Things that your body naturally makes. They're supposed to be there, but just the same, they're waste. You got to take the trash out to the curb. There are some different detox products, so let me use a different color to talk about them. Things like, first, let me specify that these are different. Things like you may have heard of zeolite. You may have heard of clay. You may have heard of things that are adsorbent. Don't worry, that's not a spelling error. If it's adsorbent instead of ab with a B as in boy, sorbent, that means that it can actually hold things on its exterior. So an adsorbent compound, if that little circle right there is adsorbent, there are toxins that it bumps into. They can actually stick to the outside of it. So it's not just the capacity on the inside of something that is adsorbent. It can also hold things on its exterior. And that's really handy because when adsorbent things bounce around the body, if they bounce into a toxin, they'll grab it and cling to it. They don't have to totally envelop it, they just have to touch it. Things like zeolite, things like clay, things that are adsorbent, they can be customized into different sizes. So some toxins will be this size and that shape, and other toxins will be that size and that shape. And last but not least, some toxins that size and that shape. And what you can do with things like zeolite is you can actually create zeolite to be the perfect size to trap that toxin. You can have clay and produce it in such a way that it'll grab toxins of this shape and this size. I think you see where I'm going with this. And that's really specific. The benefit of that is if you're going after a specific toxin to get out of a body, like on hair analyses, we see aluminum all the time. We know that there are clays that are better at grabbing aluminum than they are at grabbing other heavy metals. The deal with spirulina is spirulina cannot be sculpted for that specific size and shape kind of thing. Now, it may be that spirulina just so happens to grab that toxin. Cool. And that's good. But it doesn't let us customize it. We can't get quite as detailed as we can with some other detox agents. The second part to that, if we can customize the size and shape of the detox agent, that means that we won't grab nutrients. Spirulina can actually grab nutrients. We really don't want that. If we're trying to use spirulina as a detox agent, we don't want to see that it is grabbing nutrients. So there are some zeolites and some clays that you can take with your vitamins and your minerals, and they won't grab those. They'll leave them be, but they'll leave them be. They'll grab the junk, but they won't grab the good stuff. So that's why spirulina, in my experience, isn't quite for everybody, because often we're trying to be much more specific than spirulina allows us to be. Really good question, Laurel. As always, let me know if that makes sense, if I explain that well. There are other questions that are rolling in.
Yeah, we've got one rolling in here from Kelly.
Nice.
He wants to know, how is a high calcium-potassium ratio on the HTMA related to a significant drop in 25-hydroxy-D level?
Whoa. Okay, I'm going to regurgitate that, but I'm going to spit it out in English for everybody else. Kelly has an excellent brain, in case anybody's not aware of that after that sentence. Let's talk about it. All right, so on a hair tissue mineral analysis, that's what HTMA stands for. We're looking specifically at the calcium to potassium ratio with regard to vitamin D. And what Kelly mentioned in his question is, it's that Kelly, right? The
Yes.
he Kelly. Okay, cool. We got 2 male Kellys who are clients here. We got a couple of female Kellys.
Kelly C.
Yeah, right on.
Yeah.
What he mentioned with the vitamin D is just the form that we see measured on blood work. That's what you heard in there. On a hair analysis, the calcium to potassium ratio tells us quite a bit about the thyroid. There's a nice write-up inside of every booklet that we get with hair tissue mineral analyses that goes over how calcium is very much so like the brake pedal for the thyroid, and how potassium is very much so the gas pedal for the thyroid. And when we see imbalances in those, we often see that that correlates with certain things on blood work, like an imbalance in TSH or T3, or excuse me, TSH or T4. In my personal opinion, this isn't the perfect ratio for thyroid. I had one more thing in. I've mentioned this before, so I'll mention it again. On the hair tissue mineral analysis, there are 6 ratios that they measure for us that they think are some of the most critical ratios to measure. I measure an additional 6 ratios. And one of those is actually the calcium to potassium to selenium. Selenium is very much so responsible for the conversion of the thyroid hormone T4 into the more potent thyroid hormone T3. And T3 is dramatically more potent than T4. It does a lot more at the cellular level. But that was just me dorking out for a minute. Let me get back to Kelly's question. How does the calcium potassium with regard to the vitamin D? The potassium is not as much of a player in that. What we know is that vitamin D influences calcium. So when I look at somebody's hair analysis, if their calcium is elevated, if it's above the ideal range, what I often see is that means that they're getting too much vitamin D. If the calcium is below the ideal range, often it's indicative of the need for vitamin D. So I'm looking at that calcium level, and I'll compare it to the vitamin D on the blood work, just as like a backup, just as a check. And checking vitamin D on blood work is very inexpensive. The calcium will often tell me if, hey, butts and seats, thanks for being here.
Hello, Mr. Butts.
The calcium level will often tell me what's going on with the person's vitamin D intake. And separate from that, it'll also tell me about their potential need for vitamin F. And every time I say vitamin F, I tend to get eye rolls. Feel like, is that like a lead into a joke? No, vitamin F is a very real thing. Dr. Royal Lee discovered that about 85 years ago. Nowadays, it's just called polyunsaturated fatty acids. And the reason I bring that up is vitamin F drives calcium into tissues. So if somebody comes to me and they have low calcium on their hair analysis, please remember that a hair analysis is a measure of the tissue levels of these minerals. I'm likely to add vitamin F for them to make sure that calcium is getting driven into those tissues. If the calcium level is way too high on the hair analysis, that can often mean that their vitamin F intake is above ideal. And that would be a good time for us to add in vitamin D, because vitamin D can send that calcium to the bloodstream. That makes sense?
I think so.
Right on. Kelly, let me know if I answered your question. But potassium isn't something I'm necessarily relating to vitamin D on blood work.
Yeah. Okay.
Did other questions roll in?
I have a question.
Yeah.
Do heavy metals like make infections stronger?
Ooh, very good question. I am a big fan.
I can't say why I'm asking. It's a touchy subject, so I'll tell you after.
Okay. We answer vague questions here too.
All right.
All right, the question was, can toxic metals how did you word it with the immune?
Make infections like stronger.
Yeah. And I'm not going to split hairs, so I'm going to say yes, but I want to explain how it happens. Because it's not like when you have the presence of aluminum in your body that all of a sudden the bacteria that's bad is supercharged. It's not like that, okay? Many different toxic metals are very irritating to the body. They're very pro-inflammatory. That means they support the production of inflammation in the body. And they can actually inflame the body to such a high level that the immune system needs to get involved. What happens then, the immune system is not designed to handle metal toxicity. It's designed to handle immune system work, right? Bacterial, viral, fungal, parasitic, that kind of stuff. But the immune system is so aware of the inflammation and that it's ramping up that it'll get distracted trying to help out with that. And that basically leaves the door open. It's a door. Does that look like a door? That leaves the door open. Now it looks like a door. I don't know if that's better. It leaves the door open for that immune challenge, bacterial, viral, fungal, parasitic, whatever, to have more activity, because the immune system isn't regulating it as much as it's dealing with the inflammation caused by the metals. So it's not that metals enhance immune challenges. They distract the part of our body that handles the immune challenges, and that allows the immune challenge to cause more trouble.
Does inflammation help immune challenges be more?
It's a really good point. So on the topic of inflammation, there's like a, how would I draw this? If it's like a graph, there's like a sweet spot where we want a little bit of inflammation. So we'd want to fill up that cup up into that range, but we don't want to overfill it because then that's too much inflammation. A little inflammation helps our body accomplish certain things. It can be a protective mechanism. Like our gut will get inflamed sometimes if things are starting to leak through the wall of the gut. But if it gets too inflamed, then it becomes a problem where the immune system engages it. So it's like most things, moderation is key. That answer your question?
Yep.
Awesome. We love butts and seats here. Did Kelly get back to us, Two Boots?
No.
No, okay.
Mm-mm.
I'm waiting patiently, Kelly. I want to make sure it made sense. Got other questions rolling in, Two Boots?
No, but one's rolling out of my mouth.
Oh, let's go for it. You're always good for a question.
Okay, I've got a fun one here. It has to do with flatulence.
The toots.
Yeah. So what actually causes flatulence, and why sometimes is it really foul smelling and sometimes it smells like strawberries?
Sure. The very scientific explanation is beans, the magical fruit. The more you eat them, the more you toot. Now, keep in mind, the more you toot, the better you feel. So eat your beans at every meal. Sorry, just flash back to 3rd grade for a minute.
Yeah.
Let's get into this.
Okay.
Blue. All right, flatulence.
Never heard someone say they smell like strawberries. That's good.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I just was kidding. I just meant sometimes it's
So she says now,
odorless.
trying to backpedal that one pretty quick.
Odorless. Sometimes it can
Odorless.
be odorless.
Absolutely.
And I just don't understand.
All right. So causes. Breakdown of food is the first one. We put food in our mouth, our teeth gnash it up, our saliva starts to influence it, not just making it wet, but also our saliva contains certain enzymes that are going to help the breakdown of things, especially carbohydrates.
Mhm.
Once you chew up your food into that mash and the saliva mixes with it, and you swallow it, that's called a bolus. So that hunk of food that's now all mashed up is a bolus. And that travels down into our stomach, where our stomach acid starts to influence that. Certain enzymes that are different than the ones in our mouth get released in the stomach also. So now the stomach acid is ripping apart proteins, other enzymes are ripping apart proteins, breaking down the food further. Our stomach opens up and throws the food into the intestines. And in the intestines, the bile from our gallbladder and the enzymes from our pancreas and the bacteria that live in our intestines all start to influence that bolus and turn it into progressively smaller and smaller pieces of the original food. That whole process, all those chemical reactions taking place, form an amount of gas.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
So even if you have perfect gut health, you may still have flatulence
Mm-hmm.
because the process of breaking down food produces flatulence.
Okay.
So far, so good?
Yes.
Separate from that, there are bacteria. And some are really good bacteria, and some are not so good, right? It's like I look a little devious to you, the red one.
Mhm.
Okay. And some of those not so hot bacteria, when they are breaking down the food that you've just eaten, they are producing a higher level of different things like methane, for example. They may be more reactive to sulfur, for example. That's where you're going to start to get your odors.
Mm.
Okay.
Okay.
If you have good gut health, food just breaking down is going to produce gas, but it's not going to be smelly.
Okay.
If you have bacteria in there that are in that lousy, jerk, pathogenic, not good for you category,
Yeah.
when they break down the food, the products that they make are going to be some of that nasty stuff in terms of smell.
Okay.
Okay, that makes sense?
Yeah.
So sometimes you're just breaking down food and making gas. Sometimes bad bacteria are messing with your food and making it smell bad. So far, so good?
Okay.
Do you have a question within that?
I was going to wait till you finished your whole explanation.
Go for it.
Well, okay. So what's causing the bad bacteria? Is it coming from a particular food that we've eaten?
Potentially.
Potentially, right?
Let me write with red since we're talking about the bad bacteria. Not all bacteria is bad.
Right.
The official term is going to be pathogenic. That's the bad stuff. Sources. That can be improperly, I was going to say poorly, but improperly prepared food. That can mean it wasn't cooked the right way. That can mean it sat out too long outside of refrigeration. That can mean the person preparing it wasn't doing good hygiene stuff, either with their workspace, their tools, or their hands. Also with their breathing, lack of hairnet, all these different things I would file under improper preparation of food.
Okay.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Just surface contact. It's pretty much every surface on Earth is covered with bacteria. Our skin alone, on the exterior of our skin, has about a half pound of bacteria on it at any point in time. Pretty good amount of bacteria. Not all of it is necessarily good for us. Air can carry around bacteria. But all that stuff, whether we breathe it in or whether we eat it in or drink it in, any of that could potentially set up shop in our gut, because what all pathogenic bacteria has in common is they love weak digestive tracts. They love when the pH of the mouth isn't balanced or when the saliva production isn't healthy. They love when the stomach acid isn't truly acidic, like a pH of 1, just insane acidity. So acidic that if you pour it on concrete and leave it, it will dissolve the concrete. That's what we're supposed to have inside of here. The bacteria love it when we don't produce enough bile or the bile doesn't flow fast enough, because all these things stop the bad bacteria, but not the good bacteria.
Okay.
That answer your question?
So far.
Okay, good.
Another question.
Yeah.
So it's taking extra enzymes. Say, for instance, as you know, I eat sushi, but only the cooked sushi. But would some additional enzymes during that meal help scare off the bad?
Potentially. Now, enzymes and bacteria are two separate things.
Right.
If we want to make sure that we are obliterating pathogenic bacteria, the biggest issue is going to be stomach acid. That's going to be the biggest deal. Really potent stomach acid has the potential to do severe damage. I'm talking inflicting major pain on bad bacteria and viruses and parasites alike.
Okay.
Fungus doesn't thrive in highly acidic environments. So that stomach acid is what I'm going to say is going to be the priority for warding off bad bacteria.
Okay. And what supplement do you recommend for something to increase?
We got a couple of choices. We can go direct with giving a hydrochloric acid support, so just giving straight acid support. You said Zypan. Oh, wait, I got to write it in blue because it's good news. Kind of want to write it in green because it's standard process, but this will work. So Zypan is a really good option. There's also a supplement that's called betaine hydrochloride, or betaine HCl. That's the abbreviation for hydrochloride. I'm a really big fan of giving pituitary support, because the pituitary gland inside of the brain has a lot to do with how we fire up our digestive tract, including the production of our own stomach acid. We want that turned on well before we eat. I've mentioned this before. It's one of the problems with drive-through food. Don't worry, I said one of the problems, not the problem. Is that we often don't spend enough time smelling the food as it's being prepared, looking at the food, hearing the food cook, because all those senses, taste, sight, sound, tell our brain food is coming. We better get fired up for it. Hey, turn on that saliva production, turn on that stomach acid production. Food's on its way. And when we drive through, we might smell the food for a minute or two, and then it's in our face, and we're sitting in our car driving to the next place, so we just unfold the wrapper a little bit. We don't really inspect that food. It's one of the scariest things I see people do, is not really look at something they're about to jam in their body. Take a minute and inspect what you're putting in yourself, okay? So you can use Zypan, you can use betaine hydrochloride. I like to use pituitary support for people also, because one of my big focuses as a clinician is nourishing your body in such a way so it does what it was designed to do. I don't like the idea of a dependency. I like the idea of building up your body so it does the wonderful things that it has the equipment for. It has the mechanisms.
Okay. Yeah. Cool. Thank you.
Absolutely. So in the past, a lot of clients dealing with flatulence, that's foul smelling, I do give stomach acid support to. And then I'll also do some good bacteria so we can start to turn the tides. So the population in the gut If the score is, bad bacteria 2, good bacteria 1, when we start to give good bacteria, all of a sudden, now the good bacteria has 3 and the bad bacteria only has 2. Now we're winning.
Yeah.
And then the foul part starts to go away.
Uh-huh. All right. Thank you.
Yeah, good question. I was just telling the last client of the day that some of my buddies watch these and they ask if these are like real common questions that I get in and day out at my work. I'm like, yeah, they are. Go from talking about vitamin D on blood work and calcium on a hair analysis to farts. Just like that. Other questions rolling in.
Yeah, getting back to Kelly's question.
Yeah.
Barb has now chimed in a bit. I guess apparently it wasn't specifically addressed. The question was, how is a high calcium potassium ratio in the HTMA related to a significant drop in the D level? Is there any relationship there?
Vitamin D has the potential a lack of vitamin D has the potential to cause an elevated calcium level. On the hair analysis, the calcium to potassium ratio can be high because of high calcium or because of high potassium. So we really just got to focus on the vitamin D influencing the calcium level.
Yeah. Okay.
That's what the focus of that needs to be.
All right.
If there's high calcium in the tissue, we can apply vitamin D to help lower that tissue level of calcium.
No. It's all good. She wrote another question here.
Okay.
She's going to watch it again. She wanted you to know that you amaze both of us with your knowledge, your vast knowledge regarding the previous question. They asked, you mentioned vitamin F driving calcium to the tissue. Does this apply to bones too?
Yes.
Yes. Very simple.
Absolutely does. And thank you very much for the compliment. That's the trifecta, the 2 emails, and then Barb's compliment. Yeah, for bone health, I have a video on this that's up on YouTube where I talk, it's my bone density health video.
Yeah.
And in that video, talk about a really important ratio on the hair analysis. It is the calcium to the manganese to the phosphorus. And typically when you talk to bone doctors about this, they will bring up calcium and phosphorus. Those 2 minerals regulate a lot of the way that bones are built and then destroyed, the regulation of bone tissue. I bring up the manganese because the manganese has to do with the interior of the bone. The calcium and the phosphorus, for the most part, it's for that hard exterior of the bone. But the manganese has a lot to do with the marrow or the interior of the bone. Would you read Kelly's question again? Because that's what stimulated me going down this rabbit hole. I'm sorry, Barb's question, the second part.
Mentioned vitamin F driving calcium to tissue.
Thank you very much. So if somebody comes into me and they have low bone density, and I look at their hair tissue mineral analysis, and they have low calcium on there, I'm going to add, the product specifically is called Cataplex F. I'm going to give them Cataplex F to help drive calcium into the tissues, including bone, in the hopes that that will change the density and correct this ratio of these 3, which I call the bone density ratio. It's a 3-legged table. It's 3-sided, whatever you want to call it. A bunch of times throughout my career, I've had clients with osteoporosis move into the osteopenic category, which means less severe. And I've had plenty of clients with both osteopenia and osteoporosis have the progression of those conditions halt while under my care. So again and again, I've had clients throughout my career say, my doctor said there's no changing this without pharmaceutical intervention. And I'm saying otherwise, respectfully. I'm not saying it's going to work for every single person because I'd have to see your hair analysis. You'd have to have that ratio out of whack for me to even say there's a chance that we could start to improve the bone density. Yes, sir.
Why does paint make people crave alcohol?
Why does paint make people crave alcohol? I have not
What the
heard this
what?
before.
Yeah.
I heard it from my mother, and she's experienced it.
Wow.
Ooh.
It was like spray paint versus other paint. Something in there to deplete B1.
Not necessarily. I mean, all right. So alcohol causing, or sorry,
Spray
using
paint.
paint, specifically spray paint, causing a craving for alcohol.
Correct.
I don't think it's because the paint depletes B1 and alcohol, when we take it in, it causes a release of B1 from storage in the body. It's more likely, and this is me just theorizing, that the alcohol on some level is keeping the paint that we are ingesting while painting in a different form so it's more easily processed. But I have not heard this before. So I'm just going off the top of my head. I'm thinking, does the alcohol have an influence on the paint similar to paint thinner? And then it would be easier to just flow it through your system. But I'm not sure.
Wow. Interesting.
You get to ring the bell.
Yeah, you get to ring the bell. Did we stump Drew?
Wasn't my intention.
It's all good. It happens. Other questions?
Got it. Nope. Thanks a bunch, they said.
No, you're very welcome. Thanks for the questions. We love the interaction here. We get the biggest kick out of that. The comments on the Instagram posts. Like we posted that possible video the other day where I'm walking outside.
Yeah.
And just the comments on it, just the likes, the thumbs up, the shares, all that stuff. We just love that. Yeah. This last month, we went over toxins and beauty care products. That was a really good workshop. A week later, we went over toxins that are commonly found inside of kitchens. It was great in my research for the kitchen toxins. A couple of the chemicals from the beauty care toxins were found inside of those same products. And it's not just because the view count on the videos went up that I know my clients are watching these videos, but it's because I still have some of the props from those videos. And clients walked in and looked and it was like, you said that was bad. Why do you have it in your office? I was like, don't worry, it's still sealed. I'm returning it. But the outcome of that is Drew feels heard. So thank you very much. Next month, we are doing, and I just started to research it this week.
Yeah.
Food toxins. Holy smack. Are there a lot of things that are legal for companies to put into your food that are not good for you? It's one of the big things Dr. Roy Lee was talking about back in the 1920s. We're talking 100 years ago. He was already concerned about the commercialization of foods. That one is April 11th, and then April 16th, we're doing home care toxins. How do you clean your toilets? All that stuff. How do you clean your floors, your windows, all that stuff?
Yeah.
Any questions roll in?
Nothing.
Okay. Them's the rules. When the questions run out, I grab Indy, I use my handy dandy loop pedal, and I play us out of here.
Yeah.
But you know, next Wednesday at 7 o'clock, we're going to be back. As always, there is a very, very clear reason why every single presentation we give here in the 3D classroom has all of our contact info up on the board. It's because we want you to know that we are accessible. If you have a question, shoot us an email. If you have a question, give us a phone call. Please like and share this video. We're always trying to get more subscribers and more followers on Instagram and YouTube. And sharing this information with people, sending it to other people is one of the best ways to help promote this. So I thank you in advance to all the people who are doing that. We'll see you next week, everybody. Thanks for being here.